Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today, and I'm emphasizing that welcome back because we're welcoming back a long-running series on the channel. We're back with Monogatari here today, baby. We're very excited to be here, continuing our Monogatari journey, of course. Now, I probably should have looked this up, but I'm going to get you a date on the last Monogatari video I even made. So let's go back and have a look. To my calculations, October 19th, 2023. Almost a year? Let's round up and call it almost a year, sure. 10 months at least. I know, again, for everybody else that watched the show as it aired, it's even longer. So as we know, it has been a long time coming. Less long for me, longer for you guys. But hey, we're back here all the same. We survived. We made it. There's more. Let's do it. Let's jump in here. So I must start the video with a few caveats and a few things that I must catch people up on. One, I haven't been continuously rewatching the show since it aired, if that makes any sense. Or not since it aired, since I made the videos on it, right? So I may be a little bit rusty. Let's take this as a little bit of a warm-up video. We're jumping back in here, and I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to have an encyclopedic knowledge of all things Monogatari. I never did. I did make this big long thing about it, which I have read. Again, this is my timeline, by the way. All 49 pages of it. Very cool. It's dark now because I can't stand like white screens, which is ironic because I'm about to open ANN here as well, and that's all very white, so, you know. But hey, I've got 50 pages of notes that I've written on the series thus far. I intend to continue this. It gives me a few jumping off points on what this thing may even be about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's jump over to ANN. That's probably the best place to start when it comes to this stuff, right? And there it is, a very bright ANN for Monogatari series Off and Monster season. So, a few things, right? One, until like pretty close to the end of the show, I was like, does this thing even have more? I just like didn't even know. And then somebody told me and then I knew. I know certain people were trying to keep that a secret from me as well, so it kind of worked, kind of didn't, you know, that kind of thing. Point being that the stuff, and I believe we called it final season, that was kind of the ending portion of the show there, it felt very finalistic. It felt very Araragi focused. It felt very, I don't know where you would go from here from an Araragi perspective without change, without drastic changes, right? And cool, I better scroll down before I fucking read anything, because I don't really want to read anything there. And let's talk about this, because hey, listen, I'm bad at this. When did Zoku Owari come out? When did it actually air? 2018. There we go. November 2018. Sure. Good old Zoku Owari, my favorite portion. Not quite. But anyway, it's been a long time, and there's been a long time for Shaft as well. We should talk about this within the context of Shaft as a studio as well, and what they've been up to, which is stuff, but not really the, you know, to the level of quality that they had during the 2010s, let's say. There's been bangers for sure, but not to the same level. Not to the same level of consistency, right? Which made me interested to know a little bit more about these people. And I've got some pages up, so let's learn a little bit. Well, we don't need to learn much about Shinbo. He's Shinbo. He's like the Shaft guy. One thing that was interesting though, because I did have his page up, and I just wanted to check something based on a video I made like last week, and he had worked on Revolutionary Girl Utena at least in some portion. So I watched Adolescence of Utena last week on the channel. I did the whole Utena series. It's fantastic. If you have any interest in seeing somebody react to Utena, I would recommend my series. I think it's quite good. But I watched Adolescence of Utena, and I said from an architectural perspective and in a lot of the direction, framing, that kind of stuff, it reminded me of Shaft. So I was interested to see if there was a Shaft-esque connection there. And there is one, albeit, you know, not huge. That's not a huge role on Utena, but hey, maybe it did serve as an inspiration at some point to some level of it. And just because I'm here, he's like literally chief director on like everything that they make. So it's kind of like, it's a weird one to talk about, you know? I don't know. He's good. Shimbo's good. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble there. But I think more importantly, we should talk about Midori Yoshizawa, who is the director on at least this first portion of what's going on. Again, it's classified as off-season and monster season. I don't know how much that encompasses. I know that there will be smaller Gatari portions within that, so there'll be blank Gatari. Don't know what any of those words are yet. We're going to find out as we go, of course, as well as the arc's official name. So as always, you would have, Bucket Monogatari, and then it would be called Hitagi Crab. So, and then on a broader level, I don't know what you call that first part of Monogatari, that first little bit, but something season. So you have a season, then a Gatari portion, and then an actual name for the arc. I don't know any of those, but let's imagine that Midori Yoshizawa is working on all of it, directing all of it, maybe not episode directing all of it, but has some sort of chief role there. As we scroll down here, I think it's a little bit reductive to say just a Shaft staffer, or that they've worked on a lot of Shaft stuff, but that's essentially what they've done, right? So the one I spotted immediately was Magia Record, the director of which, some episode directing in particular, seems to be a pretty chief role for all of the Magia Record stuff, so I thought it was okay. I watched the first one. I thought it was pretty good. So, I mean, the new portion of Monogatari I'm watching today has pretty rave reviews, so must be pretty good. He must be doing something right. That wouldn't fill me with total confidence. I guess a little bit more confidence comes from working on so much of the previous stuff in the series. So Hana Monogatari work, Koyomi Monogatari work, Owari Monogatari work, specifically episode 2. I believe that would be some Orgy in the classroom stuff, that kind of vibe, I think. Oh, this is specific as well. I believe there's 5 episodes in Zoku Owari Monogatari, and he did the 5th one. Even if it is a he, I don't know if it's a he or a she or a they, or I don't know what's going on there. But episode directing, like literally the latest episode of Monogatari that I've watched, that's something, I guess. You can kind of jump off of those vibes. And in particular, I thought episode 5 of Zoku Owari Monogatari was brilliant, so sure. Definitely a very, very strong ending there as well. Assistant unit director on Suki Monogatari, which was one of my favorite portions of the story as well. That's only a good thing. Next up here we have Fuyashi To, who is series comp on this portion of the story. Seems to be series comp on a lot of portions of the story, if I'm honest, so again, the same guy's back. That's good. We like that. In the script department, we have Miku Oshima. If we have a scroll through here, again, a lot of Shaft stuff, a lot of series comp work, producer roles, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, sure. Working with the series all the way back to Nisei Monogatari, of course, as well. It's a weird one to talk about script when it comes to Monogatari as well, because so many of those writing decisions, you're adapting Nisio Sin is my point. Like, Nisio Sin is the guy here. He's the guy you got to talk about. And since reacting to Monogatari, I've gone back and done Katanagatari as well. I've got a pretty good kind of grasp on what the guy likes to write, I guess, and how he likes to write and how he likes to subvert and change and mess with expectations and all those other lovely Nisio Sin things. So when you're the script guy, you kind of just adapting all the macro stuff, at least, that he's doing. I guess you're choosing which parts to include, which parts to cut, which jokes to include, how to adapt them, that kind of vibe. But yeah, more a Nisio Sin job, you would think. For the music, we have both Kei Haneoka, who has done a lot of work on Monogatari in the past, as we can see here, and Kaguya-sama too, which has an interesting soundtrack. I'm not quite sure I like it, but it's interesting. As well as, who is this? Satoru Kosaki, who has done a lot of the music in the series as well. Also worked on the music for Apothecary Diaries. I thought it was Kevin Penkin as well, but maybe they're working together, sure. I'm reacting to Apothecary Diaries at the moment, and I think it's quite swell, so sure. Specifically the music here for Kizu, which I thought was quite good as well. I really like the music in those films. So yeah, again, looking forward to hearing some new music, of course, from these people. Working with Monica, of course. We love Monica. I can't see anyone else in particular there. I'm neglecting to look over here. I'm like not looking at it, but those would be a lot of the character names. The ones at the top would be the characters that are actually involved here, a little bit more than the characters down the bottom, you would think. I'm definitely not looking at it, and I don't think any of the voice actors have changed, so we can tick that off the sheet as well. As we can see here, Nisio Sin and Volfan back as well. Well, I mean, they're the original people, so it's, you know, they're not really brought back, but you know what I mean. This thing is streaming on Crunchyroll, of course, and I did know this as well. Yoasobi is doing the ED, apparently, so very, very cool there. I should stop wasting time. I should jump over here. Hello, Reddit. And go down here a little bit, and maybe go over here a little bit, and then over here a little bit. hang on, over here a little bit, and then over here a little bit, and then put that there. That is the only other thing that I've seen from the new stuff, is this image over here. Hello, this image over here. What is this indicating to me? Not much. It comes out in 2024. Oh my god, spoilers. But it's got 5 girls on it. 5 girls that we're familiar with. Those girls, of course, would be Nadeko, Tsukihi, Hachikuji, Kambaru, and oh my god, what is your name? Why is it escaping me? Ononoki, Ononoki, she had another name. Why am I forgetting this? No! I'm a fraud. I forget everything. Yotsugi. Oh my god. Okay, we got there, chat room. We got there. Okay. This indicates to me that at least some of these characters will be involved in some of the arcs. If I was to say the characters that probably could be used as jumping off points the most, I would say it'd be Kambaru, for one, considering the Gaian connections we're talking about, and that being a little bit broader, of course. There's still room for growth there. Of course, Hana Monogatari being the last chronological portion of the story we've seen thus far as well. That would make sense to me. Nadeko's interesting because from Araragi's perspective, the whole point of Nadeko is leaving her the fuck alone. We're not supposed to go back and talk with Nadeko. So maybe we're not in Araragi's perspective. We'll see. I don't know. Tsukihi as well, part of her charm as a character has been that she's such a blank slate and is somewhat uncorruptible by outside forces. I remember the very end of Owari Monogatari 2, the second season of Owari Monogatari, where Orgi's trying to do some shit with Tsukihi, and Tsukihi just basically denies her at every portion. Again, and once we learn what happens with Orgi and who that actually is, it takes on a whole new set of meanings, but hey, it's really beautiful that she still continues to hold strong to her ideals in the face of evil, for lack of a better term. Somebody bad trying to corrupt her and make things worse and that kind of thing. And again, that's interesting because that's Araragi's own internal motivations and that kind of thing. Anyway, we talked about it. There was a lot of writing about it, as you can see here. Not very well put together. Anyway, what else can you say? They're at Namashiro Park. It also had another name because it was a Japanese pun there. I remember that. You're God now. Hello, God Hachikuji. Thank you for being here, of course, and being a god and making everything good. Thank you. And Yotsugi, I don't know. Yotsugi's weird. Yotsugi's like a freak, so I don't know. I guess I should mention another thing. A while ago now, somebody linked the trailer to this in Discord, and I watched half of it until I remembered, oh shit, I react to this show on YouTube. I probably shouldn't be watching a trailer. I don't really remember what was in it, other than stuff that is already confirmed by this key visual. You're in it, and you're in it, I think. So, sure, that's all. Shinobu, I think Shinobu's a thing as well, if we go back here. Shinobu's on this key visual. Again, if we want to... there, that's better. Sure. Shinobu's on that key visual, so Shinobu may be involved as well. Not really a spoiler, I don't think. Now, I guess we can pop over here, and I could talk about a couple of things as well. So... a lot of the Zoku Owari Monogatari notes are me struggling to find meaning in Zoku Owari Monogatari, so they weren't that much of a good read, if I'm honest. But I was rereading this portion, and I stumbled upon this part here. The events here, specifically with Zoku Owari Monogatari, will have ramifications for the future of the story. That's what I wrote. I don't know what we meant by this, i.e. the specialists will probably keep an extra close eye on Araragi and by extension Orgi. Again, the decision there is to allow Orgi to continue to exist. So... people are like, that's a bit weird. I don't know. People are less sure about that. They just kind of wanted Orgi out of the picture, which I can't really blame them. But anyway, we made our peace with Orgi. It's fine. I'm interested to see how this manifests, if at all. Right? Will Orgi fuck up again somehow, and will that spawn into something? But again, so much of my opinions about the latter portions of Monogatari, right, during the final season there, is that so much of it is about Orgi and Araragi, and I see that as it's tied up with a neat bow now. It's all good. It's all done. If anything, that's why Zoku Owari Monogatari felt somewhat redundant, is because, yes, it by design is reaffirming things. That's the whole point of the story there. And once the reveal about Augie and who Augie is out in the open, things become clearer, and it's hard to do, or harder to do, interesting Araragi stories, in my opinion, where he is the sole person which we're worried about. I think a lot of the rest of the story will have to, I guess, center around other characters and what they go through and how Araragi reacts to this information and so forth. Or we just change perspective characters. We've done it before. Why couldn't we do it again? The other one, of course, would be timeline. So this all happens March 16th is Zoku Owari Monogatari, and if we scroll down here, April 10th is when we start Hana Monogatari, which is the latest portion in the timeline that we have thus far. I'm interested to see a date. I'm interested if we can, shove this into the Hana Monogatari stuff. I guess broad plot stuff as well. We've graduated school. We're out of school now. Araragi has adulted. He has become an adult, essentially, kind of. And he's crossed that little crosswalk with Senjo Gahara. That was like one of the last things we saw with him. We know he shows up with like a lot of hair in Hana Monogatari. And again, so much of the show and its events are perspective-based. That may just be how Kambaru sees Araragi, as this wiser old sage, this cool older head, which isn't so much his perspective of himself. Augie also has a boy form, which now we can infer what that meant as well, which is interesting too. Oh yeah, the mummified devil parts? Question mark? Okay, that's another plot thing that may need cleaning up. Yeah. Kaiki, Guy and Izuko, these kind of people are still lingering around. I wouldn't say their arcs have been satisfied. But again, I'm kind of rambling. The show's very broad. You can go in a lot of different directions, and I think the best way to get a direction is just to start the episodes. So now I get to do boring extra information, shill stuff, and public service announcements and so forth. 1. The channel has changed a little bit since the last time I did Monogatari, of course. I have a Patreon. This video here will be on Patreon first. If you're watching this publicly, you can access my Patreon in the description, and you can get 1 week ahead. I don't know if it'll be 2 episodes. I don't know if it'll be 1 episode. I don't know how to structure this because I don't know when arcs end, and mostly you guys don't either, so... because it's so new, you know what I mean? So it's going to be harder to, pace things out at a good pace and that kind of thing, but I'm sure people will let me know if it becomes relevant. So yeah, $6 a month, you can, get 1 week ahead. If you are so inclined to do that, please do so, because I like money. The other thing would be subs. So because the show is very new, and I don't have these elaborate subsets that I had in the past, where it was all just one, folder, it was all easy, and I could just swap between everything, I've gone MTBB, because that's the one that's been described to me as the one that's going to be the best thus far, that's going to translate things the best and has the best whatever else, And if I'm doing this as it's coming out, then that's probably the best that we're honestly going to do with it. My other question is, does the show know that it's been 5 years, 6 years, 6 years since Monogatari came out? Are they going to know that there's been that long of a gap? Are they going to put us back on track, so to say? Or are they just going to throw us in the deep end? That'll be another interesting question as we continue. And yeah, just as kind of a final thought before we jump into the episode, it really is good to be back. I feel like I'm a lot better at this now, hopefully. So again, we'll see if that comes to fruition by the very end. I mean, you compare the first video I ever made, which was Baki Monogatari 1, to what I'm doing now. I feel like I'm substantially better. I really, really do. So... hooray to continued improvement, I will say. I think everything else should run about the same. The only other thing would be YouTube comments are a little bit weird because they're Patreon exclusive now. So if you're a patron, you can yap at me about Monogatari. I try to respond to a lot of stuff on YouTube itself, if and when it becomes public. So feel inclined to continue to leave comments, of course, but I won't be reading them and talking back at them comment by comment, so to say, like I have been. So... yeah, take with that what you will. I'm rambling too much. Let's just jump into the episode and see what we can see, I guess. Rightio, I have episode 1 of the new Monogatari stuff. I don't know what to call it. I don't have a Gatari for it. Off season, monster season. I don't know. Something's going on. I have that up there ready to go. It's very green. It's almost like camo-y. It has like the chapter number on screen, which is the Monogatari thing. Now I'm remembering. So sure. I had two subtracks to choose from, and I chose the honorifics one just because I want to see the honorifics and in plain detail, because honorifics are important to the show. What are certain people calling each other and that kind of thing. And as I said before, it's the MTBB subset. Did I also tell you that it's 31 minutes and 59 seconds? This thing's like pretty long. Are all these going to be as long? Please let me know. I don't know. There'll be a picture-in-picture version in the description below. I'm just going to jump in. Radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Ah! Well, that's live action. Okay, I mean, that's a Tsukihi. She's in prison? I know. Well, I didn't know before I forgot your name, but anyway. So yeah, you're still hanging out with the Araragi family? Yeah. The music's great. I disagree. Maybe she has in her own way, but... Okay. Which you consider yourself as. Yeah. Tsukihi undo? Is that what that said? Okay, so that first chapter was like a thesis statement, so to say. He most certainly does. Oh, he has his long hair. As I worked on your observation report. She's doing Yotsugi things. Yeah. That's very Monogatari. 6 months, you say? Well, that's a pretty long time. Okay, so Karen's got her own room now. She isn't sharing. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny. Some Toy Story shit. You've been investigated. Don't talk to me about Araragi pouring his affection into anybody. How did you believe she was a plushie for so long? Huh. Are you going to have to eliminate her? I think she's buying it. Keep it up, Yotsugi. You're almost there. Safe. What? Oiled up? Yeah, I love all the live action stuff. It's very Monogatari. Oh, you with the fire is very interesting too. Oh, that was great. It's a good test to see if she's really about that shit. Oh, that's great too. Okay. So again, you didn't care about hurting yourself. Yeah. You wanted to prevent an accident. But did you do that on purpose? What? Yeah, you've been saying that a lot, sure. No, but it's what I'll tell you. Is that your cover up story? The background's very good. It's very, very good. I never knew that this was a problem. Well, no, I did know it was a problem. That's a stupid answer. Because that's what the end of Tsukihi Phoenix is all about. Okay, bye. I'm beware. What? She doesn't know. Yeah, she very much doesn't know. Yeah. No. Let's fight together. I love Yotsugi here. The music. Oh my god. No, 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 no. It isn't like that. Oh yeah, the whole justice thing, of course. Thank you, subtitles. The subtitles just gave up there. I don't know why. Very quick with the chapters thus far. Oh. Okay. And now you're probably freaking out. I remember. I forgot it was Kana Hanazawa. Oh yeah, I forgot she was covered in oil. She's all fucking oiled up. Yeah. Yeah, she became all snaky. What is it? What's that? Okay. As opposed to before? Don't get me started on classrooms. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They go to different schools. So how would she investigate? I like that line actually a lot. Yeah, why do you need Nadeko's help? Explain. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole ending there. Was it some kind of slug or something? Again, yeah, okay. How so? Oh, okay. I get. This is a really funny premise. This is almost like Tsukihi just not Tsukihi. Yotsugi just fucked up and she's trying to fix it. Yeah, I was about to say, what does a healthy Kaiki even look like? Of course, he loves his money. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's almost like this show's very fast. I can't talk about all the things I want to talk about. It'll be worth a lot of money one day, I'm sure. Yeah. Very meta. Do you have any skill when it comes to drawing? Yeah. Good old 2B pencil. Show me your slug, please. That's pretty good. Keep trying. You're literally 15. So no comments was that? Sad. It's like my videos. It is a lot of money. Yeah, she's gone hard. Holy fuck. Yeah. Very Ararangi thing to say. It's an interesting perspective on that from Yotsugi. I'd say the Nadeko's had it pretty hard. At least a little bit. Everyone's familiar with this fucking park, I'm sure of it. I don't know any other locations in this town, really. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, let's go. Because of some damn ice cream. Some kind of slug. I love her little staff. I wonder if it'll be really strong because it's really well detailed from Nadeko. Oh yeah, because they sprinkle the salt, of course. Yeah, the production's definitely holding up. Yeah, it's very Monogatari. Oh yeah, don't get me started on sand pits as well. There was quite a bit with sand pits as well. I remember. Just decided to go down the slide. Why not? I agree. You've done quite well. Maybe. We'll see. What do you mean by that? Go on. Yeah, got to think about who's saying it as well. Immortality. Good point. Immortality was brought up with those characters as well, of course. Life and death. They don't. Where is the slug? What is this, Dune? Oh, he's cool. Okay, let's go. Yeah, it looks like something Nadeko would draw. Sure. I didn't do anything. I agree. You also covered in oil? Yeah. uh, why is she so good at this? I agree. It seems pretty bad. She is very forthright. Yeah. It's a disaster class, I must say. So is she under the slug right now? Oh, she got crushed. Okay. Okay. I don't think you did very well at all, but not to your own fault, I wouldn't say. Okay, that's fucking cool. Yeah, why would it feel those feelings? Oh, that's cool. What the fuck? Who shut the page? Thank you, my god. There she is. Oh, Nae-san. Okay. Thank you. Oh. Just a change of perspective, huh? Yeah. This is my town now. I know everything. Well, I only know what I know. Friend? Hey, yo. Not the puns. Oh no. Okay, how's she doing? Oh yeah, it's like Mayuri Ne-san, like the older version of her as well. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I was about to bring that up as well. What was the perfectly rational reason? Second thoughts, huh? Oh, okay. So she actually forgot everything? She just didn't think she forgot everything? Okay, yeah, no, she forgot everything. Okay. I mean, the same reason why she doesn't remember dying in the past. Huh. 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 That's very interesting. Oh, she's doing the thing, everybody. Hmm. I would agree based on what you just said. Lucky. People always find stuff out, is my point. Okay. Back to do the ice cream again. Better eat all the ice cream quickly now. Oh! Oh, fuck. Really? Yeah, okay. I thought we're just about at the end. Huh. Oh, yeah, and then this is... Okay, this is the song, huh? I don't know what to make of that episode. I really don't. Especially based on the CD. It depends on the next episode, I think. How many times... Are we, like, literally looping? Because this implies that the slug will still be around. And the same old art style, huh? I really like the stuff about, hey, if I'm undying, then I can't experience pain. It's just going to regenerate. And what else is pain but painful memories? So I forget those memories as well. Then something using that as kindling for the next loop as well. And unfortunately, it's a bop. I need to watch this episode again, I think. But obviously, I think a lot of the meaning of it will be found in repetition as well. Also, stop eating the ice cream. That would be one of my first thoughts as well. Okay, so I mean that was episode 1. I'm gonna talk about it in some more detail. I may write some notes even very quickly. And yeah, timeline wise, February, but then 6 months plus February, right? So March, April, May, June, July, August. So latest point in the timeline, maybe. Let's say it's broadly August. Sure. I think I liked it. I think I liked it quite a bit. Definitely different. You can tell not the same people are working on it that worked on final season, for sure. It's almost taking inspiration from itself at points, which is an interesting thing to start to talk about as well. Does it almost feel like a facsimile of Monogatari in a way? I think ultimately we're going to give it time to grow, I guess. And I guess I forgot how wordy it was and how rapid it was as well. You really got to be on. You really got to be on to be watching this show, I guess. Maybe I've gotten a little bit lazy over time watching the other stuff on the channel. We'll see. I'll return with some notes and we'll have some talking points, I guess. And we're back. I've written some notes and I've discovered a little bit more. When you lay it all out like this, plot-wise, the episode's just like kind of really funny. It's kind of just a series of unfortunate events for our good friend Yotsugi. That's essentially what's happening here. She's been placed on an observation task to be watching the Phoenix, just to kind of, be checking on it, that kind of thing. And then it all starts to unravel once the person that she's meant to be observing realizes that she's sentient, essentially. She was acting like a plush doll. My plush doll is sentient. Oh no, I'm actually a magical girl. I'm a magical girl and I need to go defeat someone, so bye. No, I'm not letting you run away. I'm going to help you with this magical girl thing. Don't forget that I'm a champion of justice myself as well. And then that's like, oh shit, now I need to find a monster to fight. What's something that's like kind of small, but we can like make it like a big spectacle and I can just defeat it and move on with things? And like, goodbye, I'll see you later. I'm going to now leave this plush doll and everything's going to go back to normal until, again, the monster that we created is ultimately too strong. And, hey, ends with fucking Tsukihi dying. It's like, oh no, oh fuck. And now I'm going to die as well as Yotsugi. And then Hachikuja comes through in the very end and saves us, of course. And it all seems hunky-dory by the very end. It all seems like Tsukihi's forgotten everything and we're back to square one. But that's just it. we're back to square one again. We try to eat the ice cream yet again, and it seems like we're in some kind of loop-type situation. That or, faux loop. It's an ironic loop. It's that I keep making the same old mistakes because I haven't learnt the lesson yet, so to say. Yeah, it's a very, very intriguing beginning chapter, I would say. Very, very intriguing. It's frivolous for a start. We jazz it up a little bit with a few interesting tidbits about, I guess, Yotsugi's perspective on things. I think that's where a lot of the depth comes from. But mostly it's like, I write it here. It's off-season. Why is it called off-season? It implies that this is chill. It implies Nisei Monogatari vibes, I guess. It implies that things aren't going to be quite as important, especially coming off final season, which was all very, very important and full of importance to everyone and everything. It was Araragi's final thing, essentially, right? Now, again, what we have going on here is, in comparison, frivolous, but again, I think that's the point. That's the pacing coming through. We don't want something that's overall important immediately. We want to dive back into Monogatari with something that's a little bit more palatable, I would say. So again, I'll go through these notes, but going back through my old stuff, I found a couple of interesting things as well. One is August. Why do I say August? Well, during the episode, they say that 6 months has passed since I was assigned to be, I guess, in the Araragi household, right? And if we remember, we go back up here, quite a long way, March 14th, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier. There we go. Here's February. February, of course, is Tsuki Monogatari, one of my favorite portions of the story, of course, which is kind of all about Yotsuki now that I think about it, at least somewhat. So, again, 6 months after that would place us in August. I've kind of done the math there, so makes sense. The initial premise of why Yotsuki was even at the household was to help Araragi with the Orgi stuff. Orgi's dangerous. Let's protect Araragi. He's an important piece. And then by the very end of February, that's the end of Koyomi Monogatari, where they off Araragi, right? Because no, this is too much now. You're too dangerous, right? Because I think one of the major things that happens there is that Kaganui goes missing. It's okay, well, if Kaganui's now going missing, we now need to deal with Araragi because he's definitely at least somewhat responsible for the Orgi stuff as well. So, yeah, makes sense a little bit, I think. Yeah, it kind of fits all together pretty well now that I think about it. The other part we harken back to in the story, one of many, is the end of Koi Monogatari, I believe it is, where Kaiki puts that kind of slug thing in Nadeko. I forget the exact reason as to why he has to do that, but it essentially stops her from being evil White Snake Nadeko anymore, right? It helps her to be herself and be normal and that kind of thing, right? And now that I think about it, yeah, this is a good way to reintroduce Nadeko into the story, not involving Araragi. That's how you have your cake and you eat it too, right? Because one of my initial worries was, with Nadeko being front and center on that piece of key art, is that Araragi would be talking to her, and it's no, that's the whole point of her character now, is that she's not going to obsess over this one guy. She's not going to be one-dimensional and that kind of stuff, right? She's going to go off and develop herself. She's had we even reference it within this episode, she's had a somewhat privileged life compared to everybody else up to this point, right? So when she says comments like that, of course Yotsugi thinks it's somewhat frivolous and blah, 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 that spins off to other plot stuff in the episode. But again, she needs to gain this perspective through living on her own, right? Not enamored with Araragi. That can't be her one and sole only purpose in all of this. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling. Let's center this again back on the notes. Now, I haven't gone through the episode again. I can and will edit this if I'm forgetting things or getting things initially a little bit wrong here. But let's start. So the season kicks off with Ononoki Yotsugi and her perspective as she details a log of her observations of Tsukihi, right? So ever since February, which was Tsuki Monogatari as we've talked about, Yotsugi has been living in the Araragi household. The initial premise behind this was to help protect Araragi from Orgi, but the purpose changed after the events of Orgi Dark plus Zoku Owari Monogatari, or part of the entire premise behind her being, in the Araragi household was twofold. It was about Araragi and it was also about the initial target in the Phoenix, from all the way back in the second half of Nisei Monogatari. Again, as I write here, predicated on the second half, where Kagenui and Yotsugi tried to eliminate Tsukihi because of her status as an aberration. Now, they did eliminate her, now that I remember, right? She got her fucking half of her body blown off, and the front door of the Araragi household was destroyed. I remember all that as well. And then again, we took it out to the school, and then Araragi did his thing, and Shinobu did hers, and Shinobu beat fucking Yotsugi's ass. I remember that. And again, I think the ending there is that they don't pursue this line with Tsukihi any further in that moment because of Araragi's insistence on Tsukihi being his sister despite everything. So Araragi now has the knowledge that she isn't what she seems. She is an aberration, and aberrations are scary, right? But the aberration only has power, right, if you consider it to be an aberration. It's that whole Monogatari classic conundrum thing, right? Because Araragi insists on continuing to treat this person, this thing, as his sister, it will continue to be his sister, right? And again, something, larger conversations in the show about real versus fake and what's important there. Even though she's my Nisei fake sister, she's still a sister to me. It's a microcosm of everything that Araragi stands for, I guess. He may be this fake, again, hero person, this fake protagonist, where on some level he does bad things sometimes, right? Araragi, we've been through this. That's what the whole Orgi thing's all about. But on some level, he knows that he's bad and chooses to do good things, and that inherently is a good thing. That inherently is powerful and better than the opposite, as we talk about, right? Somebody who is born good that just does good things. There's no value there. There's no effort and that kind of thing. Again, all these larger conversations about Monogatari coming back to me. But again, this is all preamble, right? What about the actual events of the episode? Araragi gives Yotsugi some ice cream, implication being that Araragi is now living elsewhere because he's now at college, he's now at university, because he has graduated, and it'd be 6 months, 5 months since he's graduated, because he would have graduated in the March. So yeah, he's well away. I don't know if he's still living in the house, but that may be the reason why Karen has the room now. She upgraded rooms because Araragi's left the nest, so to say, right? He could be with Senjo, he could not be. I don't know what anybody else is doing, but it's kind of not even focused on those characters at the moment. So, Araragi is on screen briefly, but he doesn't say anything. He has no words in the script. We cannot imply anything further, I guess. And now we have the inciting incident. Yotsugi goes to eat the ice cream which Araragi has given her, and Tsukihi sees her eat, right? And Tsukihi, again, considers her to be a plush doll, which is a fun reversal, right? Because it's like, okay, I think that you're this fake thing, but in reality you're a real thing. I think that you're this thing, but you're actually another thing. They kind of parallel each other in a cute way, in a way that I never really considered before, which is fun. And again, by design, Tsukihi isn't down on the whole occult thing in the show. Again, once she starts to learn about that stuff, she may start to consider herself as an aberration, and we can't have that, right? That's how things start to unravel, I guess. So now it's left to Yotsugi to explain herself. She's made this mess for herself. What is she going to do? She elects to go for a very classic magical girl angle to convince Tsukihi, right? On one level, yeah, it's Shaft kind of, being a little bit masturbatory and, alluding to their magical girl shows, many of them in their catalog. Namely, I think we name check Madoka there at some point, which is fun. But on another level, it's because it's Tsukihi, right? She would believe this kind of immature angle. Should believe this. She's a young girl. She's the target demo for these shows, at least somewhat. So she would want to be involved and believe this kind of story. But that's the trouble. She would want to be involved as well. And that's probably something that Yotsugi didn't consider, right? So now Tsukihi, who's anything if not, resourceful, she's now going to help. She has this sense of justice within her, much like a magical girl of her own, and she wants to, assist Yotsugi in whatever she wants to do, right? It's implied that Yotsugi is a force, is a being that is inhabiting the plush doll, right? That's how she can get away with it eventually, right? She's just going to leave the plush doll and be a plush doll again, right? But because of Tsukihi's attachment, of course she's going to want to help. Of course, of course, of course. So now we're left with this situation where we need to build up some kind of spectacle to convince Tsukihi of my lie, right? That I'm this magical girl that's going to save the town from this impending disaster. Right, I need to convince her of that lie while simultaneously letting Tsukihi help in some way. So I need to thread this needle, right, between an easy to defeat but flashy monster. It needs to seem like it's a big deal, like it's magical girl adjacent, but also be easy to defeat. What's something that's like built upon fakeness essentially? Sounds like something that Kaiki would have been involved in, right? So let's go to Nadeko. Let's get that weird slug thing that Kaiki put on her at the end of Koi Monogatari. Again, forgetting the exact context there, but, you know. Essentially, we get Nadeko to put that onto a piece of paper, right? But because of her skills as a mangaka, as well as myriad other emotional factors, aberration factors, essentially, it's way more strong than we realized, right? It's way more powerful, and it's getting the upper hand when it comes to fighting Tsukihi and Yotsugi. She is essentially too good at her job. Very, very, very cool. One of the major things that makes it a great foil for these two characters is the flames, right? And the flames reacting to the vegetable oil, which is still poured on poor Yotsugi from the very start of the episode. And yeah, this puts Yotsugi on death's door. It looks like she isn't going to make it, and eventually Tsukihi sacrifices herself to save her doll, which again is a very Araragi self-sacrificey thing to do when it's literally a doll, and I'm the magical girl here, you're not. Why did you sacrifice yourself for me? Makes no sense. But yeah, Yotsugi actually was in a pretty bad way here. She was going to die. Hachikuji pops out of nowhere, the god of this town, also closely associated with the White Snake and the temple and all that kind of stuff. So that's another link into this, right? Where we can shut that page and be like, hey, just remember it's only a monster on a page. It's not real, right? It's fake. Hardy, hardy, ha. And a difference in perspective can save her in that regard. It seems at the very end, everything's back to hunky-dory. Tsukihi is revived because she's a phoenix, right? We take her back home. She forgets the memories of the incident, which is an interesting touch as well. It's almost like it's a healing mechanism in that regard. And I'm back to being a plush doll. Perfect, right? Until I go to eat the ice cream again. When I've made sure that she isn't there, she's walked off on the street to somewhere else, she did a U-turn, and she saw me eating the ice cream again, and we're back to square one. That's the story of the first episode of I Don't Even Know Gatari. I still don't know. Should I know? Is that somewhere? Is that somewhere in the start of the episode? I'll say full story. Full story. Wait, is that Nisei? Nisei Monogatari Part 3? Am I reading that right? Tsukihi Undo is the title. Off-season episode 1. Do we have a Gatari? Yeah, I guess that would be the... Is this Nisei Monogatari again? Am I stupid? No, that would have been Fake Story. It's times like this that I wish I could read kanji, but I can't. Is this Waza Monogatari? What is a Waza? Oroka Monogatari. Okay, we finally got there, chat room. Jesus. Oroka Monogatari. That is what we currently have. I'm also on Jisho here, even though it's not framed correctly at all, where I looked up Oroka, and it means foolish. There you go. Full story. We did it, everybody. I'm amazing. Either way, it's about time we just jump into the episode. Let's go back through. I've kind of talked in large detail about the episode and what I think happens plot-wise. Now it's time to talk about execution and, I guess, clarifying certain parts, I guess. Let's dive in. And here I am on the very first frame of the episode with already something to say. Well, here is Egg. Egg has a lot of connotations, of course. It's like the little fried egg that's in the hair of both Karen and Tsukihi, of course. It's also involved in the whole Phoenix thing, being reborn, rebirth, egg, that kind of vibe. It's a striking first visual, it being live action as well, which is very cool. Even back to its Bakemonogatari like roots, right, where there was a lot of live action footage being spliced into the show. Very, very shaft opening with a live action shot. Cool. It's very, very cool. As I've described before, this is a kind of monologue opening this part of the story, this portion, by Yotsugi herself, right? This is an observational report on what she thinks about Tsukihi, right? What she thinks about the dying bird, the undying phoenix, that kind of vibe. We see a visual metaphor here of Tsukihi being caged, right? Almost being contained by not knowing that it itself is an aberration, right? I really like the music to start here. This really calming piece that picks up a little bit of momentum as we continue the section. It's suitably Ononoki, right? It fits her character, right, and her kind of nonplussed demeanor, for lack of a better term. I just think it's a really classy opening. That, along with this kind of bird-watching section as well. Again, living up to this observational report motif. It's important to note another, I guess, prominent feature of Tsukihi as a character, and that is her changing forms a lot. Changing hair, changing costumes, changing everything, right? She's very malleable. She reacts to stimuli, and it's that whole aberration adage, right? The perspective of the person is important. If they believe, then it has power. If they don't believe, then it doesn't, So again, this character that tries to, I guess, move herself around and, be malleable and be natural and blend in and that kind of thing, right? That is a living contradiction. As we see here, it casts the shadow. Behind it all, it still is an oddity, right? And no oddity is natural. So this kind of mismatch is going to cause drama. If not in the immediacy, then eventually, right? I think we say here that she's kind of like a vortex of chaos in a way, right? And a lot of the bad things in the show can be drawn back to her and I guess her fakeness. Looking back, whenever something happened in this town, Araragi Tsukihi was involved basically every single time. Tangentially, yes, because she is the sister of Araragi. She always had something to say somewhat, so again, maybe that energy is causing things to unravel somewhat. You could make that argument. Yotsugi is anyway, right? Based on, again, this initial mismatch of expectations within her own self, right? Wanting to be naturalistic and blend in, but being anything but that. She is always the center of the vortex of chaos, the vortex of flames. The dying bird is dancing at the center of the vortex of flames. The vortex of flames being pretty poignant, of course, with the whole phoenix thing, but also the slug fire conundrum we have in the very end of the episode. Yeah, this is a good word for it, acting as an accelerant. She didn't help, and she may be hindered. That's what I would say. Again, really loving this motif, this whole bird motif, this shadowy kind of silhouette motif to start us off. Just spectacularly directed opening sequence, I would say. And this is one of the things that Yotsugi is writing in the report as well. What does it take to observe such a creature? You can't flinch, you can't show mercy, you can't be mesmerized, and obviously, you have to be an abominable, heartless monster. Like, as we know, Yotsugi is, right? She played her role in that in the end of Tsuki Monogatari. That's part of what that was about, That's part of Augi's plan there. Again, remember, this friend that you have, Araragi, this person you consider a friend, is a monster. And we hate monsters, right? Oh, and it's so brilliant, because Araragi hates monsters because he hates that portion of himself as well that is a monster. But that portion of himself that's a monster is also the person that saves all these people, right? Based on the Kizumonogatari stuff. Yo, Monogatari might be good, I think. It might be good, I think. This is controversial opinion number 1. And there we see it, what I was looking at before. Full story part 3. I don't know why it's part 3. That's what kind of confused me. I thought it said fake story, so I'm like, are we like in Nise Monogatari again? No, this is Oroka Monogatari, I believe is what that says. And this portion is called Tsukihi Undo. Sure. I don't know what undo has to do with anything, but sure, we're keeping an eye on it. And this is off-season. You would imagine it's called off-season and monster season. You would imagine, again, that's 2 sections of the story, much like first season, second season, final season. Here we have Araragi in his little car, where he pumps out here, right? Devil Boy, you can see him as, I guess, designated here with his little hair dealy, which I forget the name of. He has a thing for little girls, so he's kind to me. You can't really see it there. You can kind of see it there for a little bit. He's got his, like, weirdo hair. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. He's got his long hair that he had in Hana Monogatari, so that's fun. I like that. So this morning in particular, he dropped me off some ice cream, which is cool. He wants to curry my favor because he's a lolicon. We've been through that. That's all well and good, right? Oh, it's called Happy Ice Cream as well. Great. It looks like Haagen-Dazs then in the branding there. That's pretty funny. But hey, I'm like not a human, Araragi. Like, I don't need ice cream is my point. But hey, if I'm, pretending to be a human, I'm kind of fulfilling some of my obligation as a humanoid oddity. So sure, let's tuck her into the food, right? So again, we must remember that eating this ice cream and continually going back to the ice cream is it's the starting point for all of this. If she just avoids eating the ice cream, then none of this happens. So the process of eating the ice cream is actually pretty important, and the decision there, right? And Yotsugi's such an interesting character because she sits in this portion between life and death, between being a monster and being a human. In that way, she's a great foil for many other characters in the show, up to and including Araragi. So again, by providing her with this ice cream, it helps her to feel more human, right? It's interesting that Araragi is the one providing that as well. I know, probably too much analysis too early on such a thing, but sure. If I don't pretend to be human, I will lose this humanoid form. And then, again, a little bit more context about the whole Araragi household situation. Is this implied to be Karen's room as well? Because now we're talking about what I was talking about before. Pretty sure that Araragi now lives somewhere else. Hence why she would get the upgrade of a room. And again, I know Monogatari, it's like, exaggerated reality, but this is ridiculous. Look at this fucking room. It's very Kanbaro, actually. That's funny. I like that. I'm very happy that these shots of Tsukihi re-entering the room are very good, because I get the feeling we're going to see them multiple times. Oh, this is great, too. My plushie is eating ice cream. I scream. Oh my god. Oh, the puns. Love it. Either way, plot-wise, as I've said, she walks in, she sees her plushie eating fucking ice cream. That doesn't factor in with reality. That's shattering my worldview. I don't understand. It's like Andy seeing the fucking toys moving around in Toy Story. He would go insane. He really would. And at that point, Yotsugi realizes she fucked up and tries to play dead. But it's too late. Tsukihi now saw something and she's going to be persistent. She is one thing, if not persistent. We take on a very conversational tone here, where it becomes like, hey, no, I saw you moving. You're not going to fool me this time. Of course, the scene culminating with the burning, of course. Yeah, again, along with this observational report style, we get this, a little bit of an investigation here from Tsukihi, all the various evidence that she left, numbered evidence of her crimes, the ice cream on the face and the tub on the bed. Oh, that's great. Look at the shadow. Because we name check Pinocchio here, so look at the nose, of course. It's implied that Araragi poured his affection into her and then she came to life. I wonder what affection that was. Potentially lust and not affection, I don't know. We bring up the parallels here between Tsukihi and Yotsugi here very quickly in the episode as well. Are you hiding your identity and freeloading off the Araragi family? You're the worst. That's exactly what you're doing. You're just unaware of it, right? As we saw the Pinocchio shadow before off of Yotsugi, we now see the Phoenix shadow off of Tsukihi. This is the exact same thing. We're two peas in a pod. We're very similar, both casting our shadows over the family. In the dialogue here, Yotsugi says that I can normally kill off people like this at any point if they discover me, but I can't really do that here because she's the subject, she's the person I'm meant to be observing, and it would reflect poorly on me as a professional aberration person, specialist, I think we call them. Oh, look at how demented Tsukihi is here, just swinging her around by the fucking head, trying to get a reaction out of her. So essentially now she's caught between a rock and a hard place. She's just kind of trying to wait out Tsukihi to see if she'll forget about it. She didn't forget about it. She went and got a bunch of oil and went and fucking lubed her up, as you do, and is now going to set her on fire. Again, counting down from 10 here, giving her every chance to come to life and show herself, so to say, right? Again, Tsukihi's always had this kind of demented side to her, right? Yeah, very often. So it's nice to see this coming through in isolation with Yotsugi here. I paused on this frame because it's probably a reference. If somebody could please let me know, that would be great. I do like the ending of this scene, however, where it's not Yotsugi saving herself in stopping the match from from dropping. It's almost stopping Tsukihi from hurting herself, stopping what happens at the very end of the episode from happening. Again, embroiling one in flames, another link between the start of the episode and the very end. This kind of heat map here is very, very Monogatari as well. If I was to be critical, they laid it on very quick, very early with all the Monogatari-isms, and they are very, very quick. I wish they were more spaced out and a little bit. It feels like we're trying hard too early, I guess. But it's good, though. It's good. I'd rather them try than not try. Just maybe pacing-wise, spread them out a little bit more. So I guess the implication here is that the match burnt her finger. She chucked it up into the air, right? And now we're using the ice cream to put out the match and revealing ourselves in the process and eating the ice cream in the process, which is helping me become a human. All that together is pretty interesting, too. I'm going to almost reveal my secret identity to preserve the life of another human. In doing such an action, I'm eating the ice cream, which is reinforcing my humanity as well. Don't forget I'm also covered in oil and I'm fucking slicking around everywhere. Again, a sacrificing action to stop a fucking house fire from occurring. The scene ends, of course, with Tsukihi's fears being confirmed that her plush actually did move, and that's scary. But you're even scarier. Just remember that you're an aberration as well, and I'm the one watching you, right? I'm the one keeping you in check, essentially. Again, with that boiling egg in the background, almost like that initial cracked egg combined with a flame. I like that too. This frame here also reminds me that fucking Yotsugi is also Freerun. I don't know why I forgot that, but she was very good in Freerun, so shoutouts to that. But what was I going to say? So, in order to convince Tsukihi, now we're taking on a bit of a magical girl identity, also using ice cream as a determining, I guess, aesthetic decision in the whole magical girl thing, which I like. It's pretty clever. You needed an object to place your soul into, that's why you possessed my doll, and yeah, in reality, you're going to save us all from some danger in the town, as you do as a magical girl. So in the background here, we have a large television, right? Which is also a window. I don't know, maybe this is the other side of the room which had a TV. It's playing like Puella Magi Yotsugi piece. Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica. Being a reference here in the kind of fonting and the titling and that kind of thing. In the background you have various eye catches of all the different poses and magical girl things and that kind of thing. It seems like we've ignited, for lack of a better term, Tsukihi's imagination when it comes to this topic. And yeah, she's being very annoying here, going to all the details. I have all day. You don't have to boil it down. I'm ready for all the information you have on being a magical girl. For the first time in my life, I, Tsukihi, will listen to someone's story seriously. Oh, fuck. I have to make up some shit. Now, upon being pressed to describe a monster, Yotsugi then describes the monster that's in the room with them right now, the Phoenix, right? A monster that will draw disaster towards it by virtue of its mere existence. So again, it's like, okay, I'm describing this Phoenix that I have to defeat. That sounds terrible. That sounds awful. Again, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. And then again, it's ironic when you say you want to help defeat it, you want to help defeat yourself. You see where the trouble may lie. As the episode ends on the TV in the background, Yotsugi also takes her leave to go off and defeat some kind of creature in battle. Rest assured, when I complete my battle, I'll be back to normal. Goodbye. And yeah, gives us one of these ones for good measure as we leave as well. Tries to leave to go defeat some kind of creature. Tsukihi isn't letting you do that. I want to help. Combined, of course, with the Monogatari staple of a street sign, beware of birds. She didn't escape quick enough, and Tsukihi has inserted herself into the narrative. Love all the stings here in the audio, the heroic stings as she makes her stand, even the birds surrounding her there in that frame. If there's a horrible monster like that in this world, there's no way I would leave it be. The irony, it's so very strong. And of course, Yotsugi didn't prepare for this. Now she's taken aback. I cannot trouble the residents of this world. But no, take it as me, one of the two sisters, the duo of justice, of course. I'm going to help. I'm going to insert myself here into this narrative. I don't quite know how to describe the tone here, but I've definitely seen it in other things before. There's a wide-eyed, innocent character that thinks they're doing a good thing, but in reality, you're just making it more annoying for the person that is in the know. right? And this misguided sense of justice ultimately leading to some bad things occurring. You could just call it irony as a word, I guess. But like, it's really fun. This is a great sequence. Again, almost embodying some of the traits of the magical girl as described in doing so, right? Embodying that kind of heroic spirit. Now she has inserted herself into the magical girl isms. It's all over. Oh, this is probably referential as well. I love it though. Just something about the titling and the fonts there is very, very good. Even if you say you don't want me to, I would still help out of spite. I'll show you that this world also has heroes of justice, like me. Is that a pun too at the very end there? Like, okay, I agreed to this and then I let her go off to school. In fact, I egged her on to go. Like this whole egg thing we have going on with the Phoenix. Maybe. Let's say it's a pun, sure. And then we turn off the TV, we turn off that magical girl program, we turn off that cheesy moment. It's off to try to, put something together to help this. In a flash, I was over at Nadeko's residence, of course. We see here a bunch of palms on the windows here. This is vegetable oil making this mark on the windows, so I think that's pretty clever too. So, completely out of ideas, Yotsugi goes to Nadeko, convinces her that she's a magical girl, and says, hey, I need a monster. If you want to help your friend, then I need you to give me Paige, right? And Nadeko's just kind of fine with it. She hears the word justice, and it's like, oh, you must be trying to help Tsukihi, obviously associating her with that word so very much, right? And agrees to do whatever you ask. Very, very nice. Oh yeah, much like I've been talking about, we bring up this kind of comparison point between Tsukihi and Araragi here, humans turned oddities, right? Sengoku, much like those other two, is in the same boat, but she's recovering, right? She's not fully the snake person anymore, right? She was at one point. That's kind of been cured, so to say. Same with Araragi. He's not fully a vampire anymore. He's something in between. It's become a little bit more stable. He can, rest on his laurels and his humanity at least somewhat. I can't help but feel sympathy towards these kind of characters, says Yotsugi here, right? I can't change myself back, but these people can. Though I'll also kill them when I have to. Is that more Tsuki Monogatari stuff? Potentially. I will say these bookshelves here, full of manga, very Kambaru as well, but they're additions to the room. They weren't here the last time we were in Nadeko's room, when we were with Kaiki. She's moved her stuff out of the closet into her room. She's living her life a little bit more. Good stuff. I like that. So a number of important details here as well. Nadeko is without power, or she thinks she's without power because she's lost the snake god thing. She's no longer that person. She also hasn't been going to school. She's been staying inside a lot. She's been doing the whole hiki thing, I guess you could say. She's a bit of a neat. She's just, But she's also 15, so it's fine. She's not going to school, I guess. That's one of the major details there. She thinks she wouldn't survive long in the very hot sun. Again, bringing up this heat/fire metaphor too. I really like this line here from Yotsugi because it's kind of mean. You don't need to worry. Nobody's really concerned about you. You're almost there on being sympathetic. Almost. But you actually said something insulting. I guess it's more referring to her school. Nobody's really... If she comes back, nobody's going to be, bully her for coming back and that kind of thing, right? Because Tsukihi has already gone ahead and checked and made sure that wouldn't be the case. Even though that's a different school, goes to show how far this sense of justice goes for such a character. And in a almost reversal of the traditional trope, she doesn't really want to go outside. She doesn't want to return to school because she's found her internal purpose already here with the manga stuff. She's devoting her all to this pursuit. So again, double-edged sword, you would like for both to exist, but again, this is preferable to you, I guess, early in the show, where you had nothing. You had no personality, and that was part of the meta layer of the show, was kind of unpacking as to why that is. We remark here that she's grown taller, she's grown as a person, she's grown up a little bit in adopting such a mindset, right? Such a devotion. Now again, hopefully we can combine this with going outside at some point as well, because that is pretty important. We like people that go outside, me notwithstanding. But that's neither here nor there. She is still grown. I would ultimately say she is in a better place than the start. We have made good changes for Nadeko. Despite everything, she's still alive, right? And she's probably going to be alive next year as well. Like, she might be inside, but if she remains alive, she has more chances to go outside, you know? Obviously bringing up the whole manga motif in this setup as well. Nice paneling, love it. Even some of the what do we call it later? Some of this the dotted stuff, the stuff that's a problem when we use it on the slug. Yeah, again, we bring up the irony here. She seems more healthy in adopting unhealthy habits. Yeah, she does like fucking classic shit. She gets up out of bed, goes to her computer chair, fucking goes back to bed at the end of the day. You know, she's drawn something in the meantime, but, you know. Oh, we bring up unpleasant memories there as well, which is a theme that comes back at the very end of the episode. So, hey, you are avoiding unpleasant memories by doing so as well, almost paralleling yourself with Tsukihi, who has her own internal system of avoiding unpleasant memories, of deleting them almost, of deleting trauma. You can't make any trauma if you're inside. That's good. But also, growing from that trauma and learning to deal with it is part of life. Right? Both you and Tsukihi both aren't exploring this issue to the nth degree, I guess. So at least Nadeko is on board with helping us, and we need to remind her how she can help us, right? We get this nice little flashback here from the end of Koi Monogatari, where brother Kaiki Oni-chan, did quite a good job replacing the snake with a little slug guy, and Nadeko is none the wiser. Give me the residue of that oddity. I'll pretend that the slug is the monster and defeat it right in front of Araragi Tsukihi's eyes, to convince her of my own status as a magical girl, of course. It's completely simple. Completely. Here Nadeko shows some concern about Kaiki's health, if he's in good health and that kind of thing, to which Yotsugi says, I don't know if he's ever been in good health. I don't know if I would ever describe him as healthy. He's always looked like he's on death's door, perpetually, right? But we say he's healthy as a horse. Sure, I mean, he's no different than normal, I would say. He's probably more interested in being wealthy, if we're going to be real about it, you know? I will say, I'll bring it up here, because we didn't really see any of Monogatari's trademark lewd moments, I would say. Not really in this first episode, so to say, right? And meta layer here, I think you've got... This is probably a cover of that portion of Bakemonogatari, right? But yeah, it goes to show that, hey, being in a swimsuit wasn't really part of every single ritual. It's just something that Araragi convinced you to do that one time. There was a ritual, you know? I'm not like brother Oshino. I'm not like Oshino Ni-chan. I'm not too particular about the how. I'm just about the why and the when and the who. I'm results focused, you know? You don't need to be wearing a swimsuit is my point. That said, there are some things that have to be done. I need you to draw a picture of what your perception of the slug is, right? You're good at drawing, so this shouldn't be that bad for you. I like her manga too. I said it last time. It's just some classic stuff. Looks like some absolute shoujo filth, but we love that here. We like that. And it's a great point here in the episode as well, right? How would you draw a slug? Yeah, I mean, I can draw a slug, but it won't look very good. It's a deceptively difficult thing to draw. Like, easy to learn, hard to master type vibes. So, again, getting a master in the deco to try to draw it gives it unnecessary detail and all that kind of stuff that leads to it being ultimately too powerful. I like her cleaning the windows here. There's so many fun details. And this picture of this slug, this really detailed slug, something about it's just appealing to me. I don't know why. Again, we can't stop with the meta details as well. You have to draw a character sheet for the slug, not a whole manga about the slug, as we reference probably literal character sheets for these characters, up to and including Nadeko's here with her posing there. Another fantastic touch. Trademark Monogatari. I also love her chair. Look at the flowers on it. Very, very cute, very sleek, very slay, I must say. So I guess this is the method by which we're taking the residue of the slug tofu type guy and again manifesting it into what we see later on. Oh, so many meta layers. So it's like, okay, so I'm putting this on a piece of paper, much like the kind of talisman thing from back in the day that the snake god was on, essentially, right? It's like, yeah, kind of, but I can't really explain all the details there because it's kind of taboo. It's kind of something we shouldn't be talking about as well. It would also be rather complicated. There we see the snake reflected in Orgi, who was instrumental in that whole adventure as well. I can't really talk about the whole Orgi thing in front of Nadeko either. That would send her into a spin. As I've explained, the problem here is that Nadeko is too into this whole manga thing, so she puts her all into the drawing portion. She's going to use a drip pen like a proper mangaka, right? That brings up the question of, have you tried entering into competitions and that kind of thing? Not quite. She tried to submit to a publisher before. She's also put it online, but not too much fanfare. She isn't quite there yet, right? The manga is called Pats for Nadeko, which is crazy. The author's name is I Love Big Bear Cats, which is even more crazy. It got starred twice. That's probably pretty good. It got viewed 377 times, but for 0 comments. I think that's what I'm reading this as, I guess. And what's this part? She says she doesn't have access to the internet. She doesn't have a computer. And she doesn't digitize her work, but she uploaded it to the internet via a game console? Is she insane? What is going on? What? You should go to school and use the school computers. That's my vibe. That's what I would say. Yeah, that's the word. We're going to use screen tone as well. She's going super crazy, right? She's giving her manga depth, of course, with the slug. But this causes one of the most, I guess, poignant lines in the episode, I would say. I'm very glad that this world is not such an easy place to live in, right? It's not easy to make it as a manga. In fact, it's difficult. But I'm trying every day, I'm putting in effort, some of those classic Monogatari-isms coming back through, of course. However, Yotsugi looks at this and she scoffs. What does this person here, so sheltered, so the way she is, what would she know about struggle? Especially compared to me. I know what struggle is. Yeah, said the girl who had been thoroughly treated with kindness like a candy apple dipped in caramel. That was the whole problem. That was the whole problem, that's the way that everybody treated her, like she was this cute, unbreakable thing, right? They did everything for her, they doted over her, and she was simply cute as a result. She didn't build any character, you know? So I think now that she's doing what she's doing, she's growing, she's changing, she's becoming a different person, and she's well on her way to doing so, right? I think commenting stuff like this isn't applicable to the Nadeko of the now, I would say. She's different now. This being considered, what Yotsugi had to say about Nadeko just then, she's lived this kind of candy apple life, no frills, no nothing, she's just had it easy basically, right? Therefore she wouldn't know anything about difficulty, she wouldn't know anything about struggle. Now, let's talk about you within that context, right? So, you're deleting trauma, essentially, right? Nadeko has gone through trauma, and she's on the other side now, and she seems to have grown from it. Literally taller, and as a person, she seems to have grown a personality, so to say. What does that say about you? You haven't grown from any of your trauma because you don't keep it around. You essentially just shed it away, like a wound, at the very end. So, how can you ever hope to grow? How can you ever hope to really understand what it means to be human without taking on a little bit more of that trauma stuff? Yeah, this is clearly a direction we're going with this particular arc. How do all the characters reflect each other? And what are they doing differently? How are they growing as people? Like even Araragi. Araragi's gone through hella trauma. What is Kizu if not trauma, right? That he's grown out of, that he's become a better person because of. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to do so with your current actions, I don't think. And again, I think part of the ultimate judgment of the episode is judging Yotsugi for these opinions. Like, you know, you shouldn't talk this way about somebody you don't really know. And you undervalued her own struggles in the same way that you prepared for the slug enemy. You thought it was going to be a breeze, it wasn't. You thought that Nadeko's troubles were a breeze, they weren't. In classic Magical Girl fashion, we cast a barrier over the park, and we're ready to fight our creation, of course, right? We chose Namashiro Park because what other locations are there in this town? I think we're almost speaking to that at a meta layer here as well, which I like. I didn't know any other suitable locations. It's almost like there haven't been many other suitable locations prepared in the narrative. Let's talk about costuming here. We have Tsukihi adopting a Shrine Maiden type motif as she kind of helps expunge these spirits, so to say. I like it. I think it's very cute. She even comes with her own set of weapons. Again, she hasn't much been associated with fashion, at least a little bit, I would say. But it's nice that, again, she can adapt and be malleable for whatever situation, and kind of be whatever the situation calls her to be. Again, in swinging around her weapon there, she almost hits Yotsugi a number of times, showing that maybe she's more trouble than she's worth. Again, vortex of chaos, continuing to worry Yotsugi even up to this point. Again, so much of the dialogue earlier was associating the monster in question that I have to defeat with the traits of Tsukihi. This coming back through here again, her being more dangerous to Yotsugi than the monster even, more of a danger to herself even, is apt, I would say. We see here center frame, we see her little stupid magical girl ice cream thing. 10 out of 10. We've also brought some salt along. Again, the salt would make sense considering the occult nature, as well as the slug. Slugs don't like salt. So if we sprinkle some on conspicuous kind of locations, it will appear. So here, of course, we have Tsukiji treating this whole situation like it's a game, right? Like they're playing pretend, like it's a fantasy, right? She doesn't know the seriousness of everything that's going on. She thinks she's going to be like a sumo wrestler. I don't think she accounted for like getting crushed by the end of the episode. I directed her over towards the sandlot because that's where I buried the creature. Naturally, I don't want her to actually be involved in the combat process, but if she sprinkles salt on the sandpit and it appears, that should make her feel involved enough. Again, it's almost like a game that I've set up that she's now playing, right? She's very immature here, she's very juvenile, I'm the adult here. You know? So is the implication here that she just keeps getting distracted by different play equipment as she makes her way over to the sandlot? Because that's very funny as well. She can't maintain focus. However, this here was the moment where I started to understand Nadeko's words, right? I'm very glad that this world is not such an easy place to live in. Now, this works on two levels. It works on one level where I realized that, hey, this little juvenile story that I put together for Nadeko, or for Tsukiji, excuse me, wasn't actually as easy as it cracked up to be, and there was more problems that I didn't foresee. That's one level to it. The other one is I didn't understand where all this was coming from. I didn't understand that in actuality you actually had gone through such a difficult life, or at least more difficult than I perceived. And again, channeling that power into the slug somewhat. So we actually extrapolate on this quite a bit during this segment as well, right? So let me just try and read it verbatim. I think that's the best way. I would say that the root of that statement is the purpose of one's life, so to speak. An entitled life where everything goes your way would make you lose sight of whether you're alive or simply dreaming. So, difficulty in life reminds you that you are indeed alive, right? We can take that from this. No matter how fortunate your life is, living with complaints and harboring discontent or unease is not because you're particularly avaricious, which is greedy, essentially. Not because you're particularly greedy, right? Essentially, yeah, living with some sense of unease, doesn't matter how greedy or what your perspective is, how easy you've had it relative to other people, you will still perceive your life as somewhat tedious. And that's kind of what life is about. Being discontent, living in a state of unease, that kind of thing, right? That unease, that discontentment, it propels you to seek a purpose, right? You seek a suitable difficulty for your life based on that kind of thing, based on the perceived difficulties that you have, perceived on how hard it is, you know? Now again, would you say that Nadeko trying to be a mangaka is on the same level of somebody in some other country that may have their life being torn apart by war and famine and all these other things, right? No, but they operate on the same level, right? It's like, that's my purpose for living, is to be a mangaka, is to continue to live. Even if the difficulty is different, right, between the two, they're still perceiving it almost at the same level of difficulty. And that's kind of the human condition in a way. And a lot of that is predicated on being alive, you know? And I can kind of feel it because at one point I was alive, but in reality, I'm just kind of tracing over the words without it striking a chord in my heart. I don't truly believe that anymore, and that may be my status as somebody that's long dead, somebody that's a monster, so forth, you know? However, compared to Tsukiji, who is an eternal phoenix that has always been eternal, that has lived forever, that has never truly died, that never truly understood the human condition, what does that mean for her? She doesn't understand on any level what we do. Again, Araragi, Shinobu, these kind of characters, they have an intimate understanding there, but she doesn't. She doesn't know what's going on there. Nestling up next to humanity without actually understanding it, you know? I know that life is fleeting. I know that there is nothing in death. Humans know that as well. That's what propels them, especially characters like Araragi, especially characters like Shinobu. We've gone through the difference between their humanity and their monstrousness, right? I don't want eternal life. Again, eternal life is somewhat of a curse. You lose... I was talking about this week with Dungeon Meshi, actually, as well. That in itself is a curse, this kind of immortality, and this lack of purpose propelled from that. And again, it's being contrasted in the scene here with Tsukiji treating this whole situation with recklessness, with, you know, like it's frivolous, you know? She doesn't understand what's at play. She's naive when it comes to this. So yeah, none of what we're doing there really resonates, you know? Maybe we'll continue to explore such themes as we continue with this segment of the story. But for now, the slug guy's alive. Hello, the slug guy. In true, like, magical girl fashion, he looks kind of, like, cartoony and stuff. I don't know, it's something about his character design is really juvenile in a way I appreciate as well. And yeah, upon seeing how large the slug actually is, how intimidating of a presence it is, Nadeko may actually moonlight as a bit of a specialist as well if she continues down a similar path. So from there we go immediately for Unlimited Rulebook, and there's a bunch of text on screen, so let me try and pause it. Slug God Regret. B. Slug Tofu. Hindsight is always 2020. Unlimited Rulebook. Brother Kaiki. It's not out of hand. I only need one finger. And then we go for it. We destroy it. We did it. But in reality, it's going to, coagulate into another beast again soon. And she tries to play the role here. Thanks to you, I'm able to defeat the monster. You did your role. But no, watch behind you, it's still here. And the slug starts to breathe fire. Okay, why does the slug start to breathe fire? Again, like kind of that kind of fiery kind of center of human life, kind of that feeling being put into the slug is a lot of this particular oddity's power. It's being propelled from Nadeko, right? It's almost like the slug itself is attacking with the verve of human being, of the human condition. Thus why its flames in particular would be effective against Tsukihi, right? Somebody who is cold and lifeless and that kind of thing, right? Her own words, she's this horrible monster. It's why they would also be effective against Tsukihi as well, right? Because, again, she's not a human, she's an oddity, right? Being reminded of her lack of humanity would be detrimental to her as well. It would basically mean she would now know everything. She would know everything about herself and that kind of thing. She would no longer persist as Aragi's sister in a way, and I could no longer observe her and do my job. Either way, the fire attack in particular is super effective because the vegetable oil's on her from early in the day. So that's tangible as well, but it's also part of Tsukihi's non-humanness rubbing onto you as well, I think, right? Rendering this attack super effective. Again, looking at the show beyond a surface level and looking at these themes a little bit more kind of uncovers, a little bit more of the links between the characters chosen for this particular arc. Again, the underestimation of Nadeko and her struggle and the humanity at the basis of it is why she underestimated this creature, and it's powerful. I think those two are in tandem there. It's interesting that we bring up maybe the tofu is the angle there, right? You can salt tofu and that kind of thing. Maybe that's why the fire isn't working and so forth, because fire is normally good on slugs as well. It's a bug type. Remember your Pokemon type charts there. But hey, you can boil tofu, you can fry tofu. Maybe that's the segment that's giving it the fire resistance. Again, involving a little bit more live action footage there too, which is nice. In that case, this, oddity in particular is trouble. I can't defeat it. Physical attacks are meaningless. It unleashes flames, which is my weakness. There's also something upon it being built out of one of Kaiki's fake stories, the fakeness becoming real, and all these Monogatari themes coming back through too. Is this also what it means to become involved with Tsukihi, right? The flames of the phoenix as well, pulling me into the vortex of fires. Are all these unfortunate events happening to me just a consequence of me being close to her now? Is that worth considering, right? However, I can't throw in the towel. I'll be seen as a failure of an employee, and we can't be doing that, right? I have to stand up and take this thing out. She goes to use the salt here. She readies to attack, right? She's going to use some kind of cunning method to defeat the slug in question, to which Tsukihi doesn't really get the memo and jumps in and tries to save her before getting crushed herself. And yeah, without knowing that she's immortal, she went in and saved me anyway, just like Araragi Koyomi. And yeah, is that blood? I think that's blood. Yeah, she got fucking super crushed. And yeah, every single one of Tsukihi's actions here were chaotic and kind of ruined the plan I had in play. No save observations for later, I have to focus on not dying. Despite everything, my pragmatic solution is this. She won't die, this is no failure completely. Tsukihi will come back by herself and then we can kind of reset from there. And yeah, almost coming to terms with her own death here. Gaian will notice that I'm hurt or dying or something, right? And then she'll come through and she'll deal with the slug. Tsukihi will be back to normal. I'll just be seen as somewhat of a failure as an employee, right? as a corpse, I won't cause any trouble in the future. I'm kind of resigned to my own death in a way, right? Reflecting those themes from before, again. That's what I concluded and gave up on life in a way. However, if I did have some semblance of humanity left, I would be looking at this with some semblance of fear, right? You know, the fear of death would come back. You know, that same thing we're talking about with Nadeko. The fact of the matter is that I will die one day, and me dying, not accomplishing anything, not accomplishing these goals, no matter how frivolous, is disappointing. And almost this semblance of humanity coming back through here in your final moments. Or so to say final moments, but in reality, not really. And that effect there is super cool. Like, I don't know how they did that, but it looks fucking awesome. And then, hey, it's Hachikuji. She's here. She saved the day. The new god of this place, Hachikuji, she just shut the fucking page on it. I don't know how that makes any sense, but she did. Again, another character that is acutely aware of what death means and so forth. She is literally a ghost, and now she's a god. So she has the power to stop things like this, right? She, out of all the characters we talked about thus far, is the most aware of the fleeting nature of life and having goals and so forth. She's another very interesting character, foil to the main thematic line of what we're talking about. And again, her difference in perspective and her power there is ultimately enough to save Yotsugi here in this moment. And yeah, also we have Hachikuji here taking on some responsibility now that she's the so-called god. I normally leave it to the professionals, but I couldn't let the crisis befalling my friend continue any longer. And yeah, there's a pun here, which is a pun off her whole Kamimashita thing. I liked it. I don't know. I didn't really understand it, but I thought it was neat. So a couple interesting aspects in the conclusion here of the episode. We have Hachikuji taking the piece of paper with her in her backpack. So we have to remember it isn't literally a time loop. The same thing is occurring in the next episode, it's implied, but it's going to be different and there's going to be consequences from what's happened previously, right? She has the slug. Just remember that, you know? There's also the association there between the snail and the slug, so that's pretty cute as well. We also have Yotsugi here confused at almost the anti-story nature of the story that happened. Every time she tried to do something productive to help, it only worsened things, and then a helper Deus Ex Machina person appeared at the very last moment and saved the day, like instantly resolving everything. Like, that's not how this should work. Again, very anti-story, very anti the human condition as well. Very anti-effort. It's almost as if the dying bird pulled in this kind of energy, you know, all these danger signs and walking towards them as well. Things probably will get worse from here. We also have here the decision of Yotsugi not to report this to her higher ups. She doesn't want to be seen as a bad employee on one level, and if she did, you know, tell people, they would probably come and take out Tsukihi for being too dangerous. But again, Yotsugi has other reasons for this, and it may be the reason why she doesn't want her to die ever in general. She wants to keep perpetuating her immortality and whatever that may mean. Either way, the next day occurs. Her burns get all, you know, she fixes them all up, she tidies herself back up, and she remains as a plushie again. It becomes very clear that Tsukihi doesn't remember the events of the last 24 hours. She treats me like she always had done, as a life-sized plushie. It made me feel like I was the insane one imagining everything as well. You know, maybe yesterday wasn't actually real and none of it actually occurred. But we come up with a solution here. Psychological stress. So yesterday was stressful. You like literally died. So you just forgot about it. You healed. You healed back that damage. The same way you turned from that bloody pulp back into a human again. You went from being traumatized to being completely fine again as well. Almost the opposite of the human condition as well. A very non-human thing to do, I would say, for sure. The events of the past become, you know, they become the basis of your being, right? But they also induce difficulty. They can make doing things in the now hard based on what's happened before. If that's the case, it is just a wound that must be healed. Again, humans can't do such a thing. That trauma, that creates difficulty, right? It's the same thing that Nadeko was talking about earlier. All this is it's incongruous with the same feelings that the slug represents. So again, we have another chance to go back through and explore this again. And for these characters to make different choices. But it's very interesting that Yotsugi and Tsukihi, these two characters that have no... They're the two characters, or two of the main characters, that wouldn't have a great grasp of this feeling of effort and difficulty and humanity and that kind of thing. And they're struggling with this crisis. And again, Hachikuji wanders over straight away and fixes it because she knows. She knows what it means to be human, you know? Again, these memories, these bad memories, these wounds, they make living life difficult, so you get rid of them, you know? They're eradicated from the brain without a trace. It's an outrageous self-purification process, and as a result, today she lives on with vigor and spirit the same way she always has. Now again, in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, Araragi found strength in this, and now we're seeing this as somewhat of a weakness. We're reframing it now, you know? She will never truly be human if she keeps doing things like this. She'll also keep repeating mistakes as well. And then, yeah, we do Platinum Disco there as well for a moment, which is nice. And that is the eternity of it all. She doesn't learn from these mistakes as well. And then those failures are dispensed to those around her. That's why she's the vortex of chaos, you know? She's inhuman to such a level where she gets rid of all of her trauma around her, right? And doesn't learn from the mistakes. She repeats the mistakes, you know? This creates the vortex around her. People get drawn into the vortex. And that's why all these bad things continue to occur. She's always at the center of them, you know? And that continues to build kindling for the phoenix in question, you know? In a way, she could be seen as responsible for everything, the initial premise of the start of this episode. And we see this come to fruition with the very last scene here, right? Because she didn't learn from these mistakes, you don't learn from your mistakes either. She makes the same mistake of walking back in again. She's doomed to repeat. She didn't learn from the memories, you know what I mean? So now we're doing the same thing again. We're going on the same journey, or at least a very similar journey, and will we come to the same conclusion? I know that she will, but will you? You know? And again, this whole thing, it's become enough merit for me not to report anything, and me continue to watch her and that kind of thing. So again, as I described before, we have Yotsugi here continuing to make the same mistake again. The same way, right? So she double-checked that she left and that kind of thing, but you still went and you went for the fucking... You went for the ice cream, which, as we remember, is this symbol of humanity. It's this symbol of needing to eat, needing to maintain humanoid-type behaviors, right? You still went back and you still did it because you didn't learn from your mistakes. So, to ensure that I make no blunder in the future, I'm going to eat all the ice cream now, and then, lo and behold, you go to eat the ice cream. The same scene from earlier in the episode plays out. And yeah, we end the episode inferring that part 2 will occur next time. And hey, we're lacking that ability to learn from our mistakes. That 8 of the 8th chapter that we're talking about turns into the infinity symbol, and we keep on repeating the same mistakes. Because again, the human condition, or at least part of it, is learning from said mistakes and making effort and difficulties to overcome them. And yeah, that's the episode. I may just do the ending next week, man. It's already very, very long. I don't have that much to say about it as well. I think it's very pretty, and I think the songs are bop, but same old art style, same old stuff. I'll read lyrics next week. Let's say that. Just remind me, because I'm running out of time. I ran out of time talking about one episode of this show. Boy, oh boy, can I yap. I can yap. But yeah, I mean, I liked that a lot more on the rewatch as well, so shoutouts to that. Shoutouts to that. I'll be back next week. I'll probably do one more. Just because I don't want to, unless I'm finishing an arc, I don't really want to blow this kind of couple of episode lead that I have at the moment. So I know that episode 3 is out. I think that's where we're at by the time I'm recording this. I don't really want to go ahead and go up to where you guys are immediately, I guess. I want to stay back a little bit. And if I have so much to say about next week as I did to say about this week, then that spells trouble as well. But either way, it was very good. I enjoyed that way more in the rewatch, which has been the tone of the channel up to this point as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next week. Patreon, of course, if you wanted to be that 1 week ahead. And the Discord. Talk to me about Monogatari. I always love talking Monogatari, for sure, as you can see by the video's length. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.